Next, let's look at the second part of this definition, the part that's focused on employing electromagnetic radiation, and in particular talking about what electromagnetic radiation really is. Certainly at some point in your educational career, either junior high school, college, wherever, you've had lectures, probably in a physics, maybe in a chemistry course, that was talking about the electromagnetic spectrum, basically talking about light. Okay, and that's what we're going to do here. Let's take a look at the electromagnetic spectrum. And no matter how many times I look at this figure, it never ceases to amaze me that light comes in the variety that it comes in, that variety is decided by such a simple thing, such as, well, the total amount of energy, which depends on wavelength, and which of course depends on frequency. But such simple things give rise to such seeming complexity to us. And that's what's really beautiful about this subject, and I really hope you enjoy. Another thing that never ceases to amaze me about this is that we are able to see only a sliver of the amount of light that's actually out there. If you look at this, the visible spectrum is a small part of the total spectrum. At the higher energy end, we have gamma rays, very short wavelengths, very high energy, through X-rays, up through ultraviolet. And a quick note here that these lines here designating sections of the spectrum, of course, these are not concrete walls that cannot be broken. This is a fine gradation here, and it's just simply convenient for our convenience to talk about radiation in this given region to be called gamma rays, right? Or X-rays here, or ultraviolet rays. For remote sensing, the interesting action is really happening here in the visible part of the spectrum, blown up, of course, looking like this from blue to green to red. Also in the infrared section, which contains both reflected and emitted infrared radiation. More on that coming in the next video. And also microwave radiation, which is either emitted from the Earth naturally or is being sent down by sensors. Again, in the next video we talk about that. And of course, radio waves and long radio waves. So this is what the spectrum looks like, and this is where the action is in terms of remote sensing. And the reason for that is that different substances, different objects, reflect light, the whole range of light, differently than other objects, depending on their characteristics, what they're made of, their condition that they're in. So by looking from above, with sensors that can see in a range of electromagnetic light, electromagnetic radiation, we are able to tell what things are. I guess that sounds really simple. You look to see what things are, but when you're doing that from hundreds of kilometers up at wavelengths of light that are not visible to the eye, then it actually turns out to be a pretty amazing thing.